Hello, everybody, and welcome to the playoffs pick'ems for the major. I believe it's called the champion stage, but I can't really remember at the moment. Unfortunately, guys, the pick'ems died on the final day. Literally, as of the day I'm recording this, the night that I'm recording this, earlier today, the pick'ems died, which I will show you here. Oh, by the way, this did get added, but I will not be getting the correct five in the elimination stage. If we take a look here, I was only able to get um, I was only able to get four of them correct and not five. I put phase in G2 in my 3-0, which was wrong. Um, on both accounts very early on. But at that point, it kind of was like, okay, well, if they don't go 3-0, I need them to basically not make it almost. And frankly, I almost succeeded in that regard because FaZe and G2 both underperformed in this stage. But at the 0-3 column, we were able to get the Mongols Imperial. I was off by one. They got an upset in their first game against Virtus Pro, and then proceeded to um, pretty much, yeah, lose every game after that. So, unfortunately for me, didn't get that one right either. In my 3-1s and 3-2s, those kept me alive for quite a long time in the elimination stage. It kind of came down to the last day where I needed Virtus Pro. The phase complexity game didn't matter for me. The G2 Virtus Pro game was important. I needed VP to win that game, and then I needed Navi to beat Pain, which I was pretty sure was going to happen. So really, the big game was, for me at least, was Virtus Pro versus G2. Which, if anybody watched that series, you know that it actually kind of got Virtus Pro kind of got screwed over by James getting disconnected in the most important round of the game, in the most important where he was the most important player in that situation, and I believe a post-game press conference interview came out. I want to say press conference interview, but a post-game interview was released. Something with Monazi, I believe, saying something along the lines of like, "Yeah, Hooksy basically told us to save unless we got a pick," and then James DCs and his character moves to the right and they get a free pick and then they retake the bomb site. So, um, and then in the third map, Virtus Pro just didn't reset and they lost. So they did not win that best of three, which is a shame because I do think they probably should have won it. Considering where James was in that position and whatnot, it's not G2's fault. G2 can only play with what happens, but it is very unfortunate, and it did screw over my pick'ems inadvertently. So that is the most me thing to happen. What kind of luck could I possibly have? So yeah, unfortunately, wasn't able to get it, but that's okay because we will still try to move forward and try to get the best coin we can possibly get. And so playoffs. So, um, yeah, we have some tough decisions to make. This is easily one of the most stacked playoffs I've seen at the major in years. I can't remember a time where the major's been this good. I keep mentioning on every single one of my videos, but it's true. This major has just been so fucking fun to watch, and there are so many good teams. It was almost impossible to get a bad playoff bracket. Um, I will say the only thing that kind of sucks about this, the way that the bracket is broken down, is that we have Team Spirit and FaZe playing in the first round. But it'll be a banger series, so no disappointments there. Hopefully Zywoo's feeling better because Vitality looked pretty limp coming into the playoffs because he has been sick. Eternal Fire's been a great story. Navi I think have been for the most part very very good, but they have moments where they just kind of they're not as good as they should be, because you watch them play amazing. Like when they're playing at their best, like they can beat anybody. Um, but sometimes they have moments where they fall off a little bit. Mouse, I didn't predict them to go 3-0. I did predict them to make the playoffs though. I knew how good Mouse were. I just wasn't sure they were going to be good enough to make a three. I didn't think they were good enough to be 3-0 in the playoffs, or in the elimination stage, but they did, and they're here and they've been fantastic over the past couple of months. They've been very very good. It's going to be really tough to determine where Mouse is going to fall in this tournament, I think, in this playoff bracket, because there's a lot of big names, and I think people are going to want to pick the big names. G2 barely making it, scraping by Virtus Pro at the end of today to make the playoffs. I'm sure G2, though, in a way, might actually be happy to be playing Mouse because it's an inexperienced team. But yeah, I think this is going to be very difficult to predict. I think the best way to go about it, I'm just going to start from the top and move my way to the bottom. So I guess we're going to start with Cloud9 versus Vitality. Cloud9 has looked incredible this event. The biggest caveat to Cloud9 is potentially the map pool and the fact that because they don't have an opper. They don't really have an opper, but what they lack in opping, they make up for in teamwork and coordination and strong rifle play. And it's been fantastic this event. They've done a great job. It's been fun to watch them play. Um, I guess it kind of does. You almost have to think about it as coming down to the map pool to some degree. And I think a lot of people would want to pick Vitality here because of ZywOo, and ZywOo has been one of the best players, if not the best player in the world for CS2. But he has been sick, and it has affected his performance. Even if he gets healthy, right? Is it good enough? Has Vitality been playing well enough to make it to the semifinal over Cloud9? I personally think Cloud9 has been the better team. I think they've been the better team leading up to this part. Sure, they're gonna have to work with some, um, they're gonna have to basically deal with the fact that they don't have an operator, and so they're gonna have to try to avoid maps that have strong opping presence. But I actually think this map pool, the way that it's currently constructed, it's kind of strange. Well, let me go and show you. I don't particularly think that this map pool is very conducive for oppers in this. Just the way that everything is working, in terms of the maps, and the maps that I've seen Cloud9 play, I believe have been Overpass, which is an opping map to be fair. Uh, I believe. Oh, have I seen them play Vertigo? I'm not sure. I know I've definitely watched them play Anubis. That's for sure. Um, I don't know. I think they've played Ancient as well. I'd have to look at their actual like the maps that they've played. So let me pull that up real quick, and I'll put that on my page so you can see what I'm seeing. So let's look at Cloud9 real quick, right? Let's see in terms of their matches. Um, so we'll go here. They did beat G2 earlier as well. These are teams that have strong oppers as well. Um, but yeah, just kind of what maps have they been kind of having to play? They played pretty good on Mirage, Ancient. I was right. They did play. They did crush over Navion Overpass. Um, and then G2 they beat on. Yeah, that's right. They beat him on Anubis. That is right. Okay. Uh, Look, honestly, I have a strong feeling about Cloud9. It's weird. It's mostly predicated on the fact I think that like and by the way, I don't even know that it showed up on the screen. But I feel good about Cloud9 because of just the way that they've been playing has been really, really strong. I've just really liked their teamwork. They're a fun team to watch. And I don't think Vitality has looked too convincing, to be completely honest. They've looked incredibly shaky. Didn't they lose? Well, they lost to Eternal Fire. They barely beat Mongols. They barely beat Imperial. And then they 2-1 Complexity. I don't, they 2-1 Complexity. By the way, Complexity like very nearly won that series. Like they were very close to. They should have won that series, but it's Complexity, so they didn't. So they didn't win. Um, but I'm gonna go with Cloud9. As for the next game, Team Spirit versus FaZe Clan. This is so insane because if you're Team Spirit, you have to be thinking this is the worst draw you could have possibly had. Yes, they beat FaZe Clan before in the Katowice finals, but this is not the reward you were hoping for when you got the number one seed playing against, what presumably should be the eighth seed, the worst team. It's Mouse and Team Spirit should be playing the worst teams coming out of the elimination stage. And if you're Team Spirit, you've got to be feeling pretty freaking like destroyed or distraught. Not destroyed. I mean, that sounds like an over exaggeration. They're not actually feeling that way, but you've got to feel pretty bummed out that like you're the number one. You went 3-0, and your reward is you get to play FaZe in the first round in the playoffs. That's brutal. And FaZe has looked very streaky up to this point. As I'm getting invites, they've looked very shaky up until this point. But they admittedly they destroyed complexity, um, for what that's worth. And you just never know with FaZe. They could come into the playoffs and have their playoff form. They've made the finals of basically every single CS2 event. Um, I'm getting spammed with invites now. And so it's gonna be tough, man. This is a tough one. I kind of want to go with Team Spirit just because they've looked like their run throughout this major has been so classy, which is strange because yes, they won Katowice, but this is still a very young team, and they've never made it this far. Chopper has, but Donk and Zontix, Magix has as well. But Donk and Zontix, these two star riflers, they have not been in this type of situation before, with in the majors. So it's crazy, but they really have looked classy. They've looked like head and shoulders the best team at this event so far. So I'm gonna go with Team Spirit. Moving forward, we have Eternal Fire and Navi. Eternal Fire has done amazing to get here. They have been probably they're probably a top 10 team in the world right now. Xantares has been Xantares. Wicadia has been an incredible pickup for this team and has just been phenomenal as a young player. And he's probably the catalyst for why Eternal Fire has finally turned the corner and become as good as they've been. Woxic still underperforms at times. He's very, very inconsistent map to map, series to series. And Major's calling has been, I would say, good. Um, Not like earth shattering, but it's been good. So that's kind of where I see Eternal Fire. They're a very strong team, and I think it's amazing that they've gotten to this point. They deserve it. They have played extremely well. But they're playing Navi, and I am just, maybe it's the fact that I'm an Alexi B stan. I freaking love Alexi B. I'm a big fan of Wonderful as well. He has been phenomenal, by the way, at this event. Wonderful has been fantastic. JL, um, I would say at this major has performed relatively. It's one of his better events, I think. At least he's had some crazy pop offs, which is what you get with JL. Sometimes he pops off, sometimes maybe he slightly underperforms. I would say that he has been the JL's been pretty good. I think Ime is the one that you want more from on this team, but I do think that the way that Navi plays is really interesting to me. I really like the way that they play. I think when they're on point, they can literally beat any team. I think they were the only team to take a map off of Spirit. Um, and so I think I'm going to go with Navi. I'm getting fucking spammed with invites. It's pissing me off. I'm going to go with Navi for this one. And then finally, Mouse versus G2. I think this is one that gave me a lot of pause for thought, actually, because I initially kind of wanted to go with Mouse, and then I was thinking, yeah, but look at G2. They've got Nico, they've got Monazi. That's such a strong combo. You almost just want to say screw it and just put G2 through. Um, but I think I need to stop doing that because I think I do that too often when it comes to G2. I look at their players and I just think, wow, like look at these players, like they're incredible. Monazes have been like one of the best players in CS2. How could you not put them to win against this Mouse team? You just look at the raw for like the rosters, you compare them just player to player, and you just can't see a way where G2 loses. But I've learned to not underestimate Mouse. Mouse has consistently been good for a long, long time now, and Shuhei has been just he's probably like he's in terms of like who's the next like super like up and coming IGL that's like on that like god tier trajectory. Like this dude is there. Like I mean his trajectory is just been at this level for so long now. Like He won like even early in his career with Mao's Academy or whatever, or Mao's NXT. Um, they won multiple championships in that academy we play academy league. Um, and it just he did it consistently. This dude just he has composure on like most people his age, I feel like. And he just understands his players so well. And the way they play, it's just very strong. And while they did look shaky in their first game in the stage, clearly you could tell as they warmed up, they really started feeling themselves, and it was very they really got going. Granted, they did have probably the easiest path to the playoffs. But it wasn't. But saying that doesn't hit as hard as it does in other stages in previous majors, because this major elimination stage was so strong that you had to play strong teams at some point, and Mouse certainly had to do that. So I would actually give the edge to Mouse here. I think Mouse is going to move forward into the semifinals of the major. Um, and so then at that point, we're looking at the semi-final, I believe. Or do we have to do all of these now? I don't know how this works. Do we have to put all of them in now? I'm not aware. Place all 7 pick 'em predictions for the playoffs before it begins. Yeah, you do. So, okay. So let's move on into the semifinals. What do we think is going to happen in the semifinals? I think Team Spirit's going to win. Unfortunately, Shiro, I forgot to mention Shiro's name. I don't know why I just completely blanked on Shiro. Um, I just think Team Spirit's been the best team this event. Cloud9's been great, but unfortunately, Cloud9 is missing the one piece that they used to have, which is Shiro, and this is going to be the Shiro revenge game. And Team Spirit, they just have too much. They have the teamwork that Cloud9 does. They have the rifle power that Cloud9 does, but crucially, what they have that Cloud9 doesn't have is the opping prowess of Shiro that they lost. So I'm going to give this one to Spirit. As for the semifinals on the other side of the bracket, we have Navi and Maus. Um, Again, I'm actually going to give this one to Navi. I've said a lot of good things about Maus. I think Maus is really incredible. But like I've said previously at this in these videos, particularly in this one, when I talked about Navi, it's that when I watch Navi, when they play at their peak level, when they are playing their best Counter Strike, which it wasn't like it was something that was happening like every once in a while. No, you would see Navi play their best level, like if not every map for like stints of time. It'd be like every other map for considerable stints of time. I don't think this is a situation where Navi like you know it's like yeah when they play their best Counter Strike 1 in every 5 games. Like no, this team does play good Counter Strike. Like it just comes in stints. And if they can just they've got an easier quarterfinal with Eternal Fire in comparison to some of these other teams, obviously. Um, and then playing Mouse, I think you're going to be relatively happy with if you're Navi, compared to having to play a FaZe Clan or a G2 or crucially a Vitality at full strength or something like that, right? I think you would prefer to play Mouse in that sense. You definitely wouldn't want to play Team Spirit, for example, or I believe Cloud9, who previously beat them in the elimination stage. So you're probably happy with that draw. And I just think the individuals on this team should be able to perform to the level where, and Alexi B is a good enough caller to win this series, in my opinion. And so then we get to the final, Team Spirit versus Navi. If you've been listening to what I've been talking about this entire time, I have been saying that Team Spirit has literally everything, has looked like the best team at this event, even though this is easily one of the most stacked events, if not the most stacked major I've ever seen. I still think Team Spirit is going to win this major. I think they're going to be and I'm not just saying that off of Katowice Cope. I'm just saying that because just watching this event, they've just looked unstoppable. They have just looked so good. And so I'm going to go with Team Spirit to win the first CS2 major, which is wild, by the way. Who would have thought Team Spirit would be the organization to potentially, be in the lead position for winning a CS2, the first CS2 major? Completely insane. But They deserve it if they do it, obviously. Whoever, I will say this, whoever wins this major has completely and totally deserved it. There is no easy runs in this major playoffs, which is awesome to see. Again, I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, but of course, I have not looked at anybody's pick'ems, any of the analysts' pick'ems for the playoffs. I've just done this completely on my own. I think relatively speaking, guys, I think so far, obviously the playoffs could go completely differently, and it's really hard to predict the playoffs because again, if you have to predict them all before they start, that means that if you get the quarterfinals predictions wrong, your semifinal predictions could be completely wrong, right? Like if Cloud9 loses in the quarterfinal, or let's say Team Spirit loses to FaZe Clan in the first round, well, now I've just messed up my semifinals pick and my finals pick and the winner. So, uh, you know, picking the wrong team and picking the wrong matchups in the playoff stage really does affect how the entire playoffs goes for you. So that's what makes this incredibly difficult to predict. But what I will say is, I think, relatively speaking, I think I've done a pretty good job. Hopefully, my analysis of what I think is going to happen in all of these stages has made sense. And I've tried to use some logic and I've tried to explain things as best I can in terms of what I think about the teams and why I think certain teams are going to win, why I think certain teams are going to lose, because I want to provide some kind of insight into why I'm picking what I'm picking, and just I'm not just like blind picking stuff. Um, but I think, relatively speaking, guys, like, look, I barely missed out due to a ridiculous bug or disconnect. I think I did a decent job predicting the elimination stage as best as I could have. Well, not as best as I could have, obviously, but like a pretty good job. I think I did good in the opening stage. So hopefully the playoffs, I don't do too bad on. I think I've tried to do a really decent job here predicting stuff. But yeah, I guess we'll see how the playoffs go. Let me know who you guys think is going to go, deep into the major. Let me know who you are going to pick to go deep into the major and win or be in the semifinals or whatever. Do you think maybe I'm overrating or underrating a certain team? Perhaps you think Eternal Fire is just that good and it's just going to run through the bottom half of the bracket. Who knows? Um, but yeah, should be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to watch. It's gonna be so cool to watch these teams play. Really, really looking forward to all of the matches. Obviously, I'm basically gonna watch them all. I might do some type of well, not co-stream, but I don't know. I probably wouldn't. If I did, it would be. I don't know that I would stream it, but I might end up having to set up a watch party or something with some friends just to watch the major and have fun doing that because that would be pretty cool. Um, but yeah, it's just been a sick tournament overall. Easily one of the best majors that I've watched, and I've been watching for almost 10 years. So I feel very happy and privileged that the first CS2 major is this good. Um, so yeah, I think that's it for this video, and hopefully you all enjoyed, and enjoy the major.